Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Product Drive 2025. I'm your host, Jessica Baca, Director of Demand Gen here at UserPilot. Over the last 2 days, we've heard from product leaders and growth experts on how AI is reshaping the way that we build, price, and scale products. Before I introduce our speaker, I do want to do a quick plug for UserPilot in case you're not already aware. UserPilot's an AI-enabled product growth platform that automatically captures user behavior and events, generates custom dashboards, and allows product teams to easily build powerful in-app engagements. From walkthroughs and checklists to gathering user feedback, you no longer need developer support. Yesterday, we introduced our new product growth agent, Leah. To celebrate, every Product Drive attendee gets a free 3-month POC of our platform. Details will be in your inbox after the event, so be sure to take a look for that. And be sure to add questions in the chat. We'll address them at the end. There will be a Q&A, and so Kate will be able to give us some responses to those questions. Quick intro on Kate. Kate Syuma is a growth advisor and former head of growth design at Miro, starting as the company's first designer for growth and moving all the way up. She's the creator and co-host of Growthmates podcast, which explores growth stories with industry leaders from Pinterest, Adobe, Atlassian, HubSpot, and many others. During her tenure at Miro, it evolved from a startup to a unicorn, expanding from 50 to nearly 2,000 employees and experiencing hypergrowth. Beyond her professional work, and in case you want to reach out to her for these other things, Kate is passionate about analytical psychology, yoga, nutrition, visual art, and cooking, and exploring the world. All right, Kate, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Jessica, for such an introduction. I think you nailed it. I have nothing to add, literally. Let me share my screen and start talking about the topic that I'm super passionate about. The topic is user onboarding, and this is where everything starts, right? So we get all our users at this point, and unfortunately, we lose almost all of them right away. And onboarding should be beyond just fine or intuitive. It should be the most memorable and the most delightful moment of the entire user journey. So before we start, I think Jessica already introduced me very well. I'm currently a founder of Growthmates, which is not just a podcast anymore. It's also my advisory practice, a newsletter, and a course. It's a learning platform that I'm building for everyone to learn about two things that I'm super passionate about, which is product-led growth and user experience in combination. And previously, I've been at Miro for quite a while, and I was working on all steps of the funnel, including onboarding, which became my main passion till this moment. And my mission in Growthmates is definitely help everyone build meaningful products that delight users. And when I was doing a bunch of conversations on my podcast that Jessica also mentioned, I asked people from Loom, Atlassian, Notion, etc., like how they are trying to solve this problem with the first user experience. And for all of them, that is the most painful and the most problematic part of the journey. So you are not alone here if you're struggling with that. So today, welcome on board. First of all, nice to see everyone here. Today, I'm going to share with you how I shifted my perspective of what I mean by user onboarding. I will introduce my framework to you. I will also share 3 types of initiatives to drive product growth, some mistakes that I made that you can avoid now, and a bunch of examples and practices from B2B SaaS that you can take away and start trying out. At the end, I will share a couple of bonuses, so please stay with me if you want to get some good things at the end. So one thing I love asking before sharing my perspective, just think about when user onboarding really starts and when it ends. Like you can ask me, hey, isn't it just the first session and a simple tutorial? So let's look at this, for example. You can be quite confused, like, Kate, it's just a Google search preview. What do you mean? Why it's user onboarding? This one looks already pretty familiar, right? Like the whole questionnaire, profiling flow, sign up flow, registration flow, whatever you name it. However, it doesn't end at this point. Anything that happens with your users inside the product, in the first session, in the second session, and also towards their path to habit formation, all the introductions of the paid features, and all the emails that you send to your users in the first days or even within first 30 days, depending how much time it takes to create a habit with your product. All of that is user onboarding. So what I'm trying to communicate here, and it's like breaking news, user onboarding is not just the first session. Why we need to care about that? There are many data points to have in mind, but we really know that from 40 to 60% of users who encounter a poor onboarding experience, they will never return to the product and they will never recommend your product to anybody else. I've also done different types of research with my audience, and almost 50% responded that improving activation and user onboarding is very, very challenging to them. And a couple of years ago, I have done a study dedicated to user onboarding in particular, and both B2B and B2C companies highlighted that getting to activation stage is the most challenging thing where they lose almost all of their potential customers. So this is where I thought, okay, how should we look at user onboarding? What it really includes? And this is how I created this framework that I call 6 Steps of Holistic Activation and Onboarding, which shows us that onboarding starts way earlier than we used to think, and it lasts way longer. So it actually starts from the moment when potential users started looking for a solution to their problem. It can happen on Google search ads, your LinkedIn content, or wherever you present your product. Then hopefully they move forward, they open your website, they find something interesting there, they sign up, they have the first session, then path to aha moment, it can take a while, and then finally they form a habit. So at this moment, when user build a habit around solving their problem with your product, this is when we can say that this is the end of the user onboarding. But then the paid onboarding can start happening, like the paid version of your product. So it really depends, and it's quite a long process. So at this point, you can ask, Kate, it's kind of quite complicated, so many steps, so many things. Why we should care about that? We don't have resources, time, like we have other problems, bigger problems to solve in our growth roadmap. So I would like you to look at this thing. Activated users have 2 times higher long-term retention and 70 to 80% convert to paid. So for example, when your business stakeholders are saying we have huge monetization problems, we have huge retention problems, just remember that the root cause is usually in activation. And we really need to start from that. So how do we get there? Some of you are familiar with the activation framework, and activation is a path. When defining activation, it's a little bit controversial, but we need to start from the end. We need to start from defining your habit moment, and from that extract your aha moment, and then your setup moment, right? We will not talk about this in detail today. I want to show you some slides, some pictures, some visuals. I'm a super visual person, so can't wait to show you some examples. And when I will be showing you some mistakes and best practices, I will be using these 3 things: quick win, meaningful shift, and big bet. What I mean by that, there was one problem that I noticed while working at Mira and with a bunch of clients, that usually companies are either over-optimizing for quick wins or big bets. And in order to move the needle, we really need to have a diverse roadmap, which includes all types of initiatives. So this is something that inspired me to create this simple framework where we can really distinguish these quick wins from big bets. But also there is a lot of things in between, which I named meaningful shifts. And this simple framework helps us diversify very quick ideas and big ones, and have a more diverse portfolio at the end. So now we will walk through every step of these 6 steps of holistic onboarding, and I will show you some mistakes to avoid and some best practices that I would suggest you to follow. Let's start from the first one. This is the moment where we say hi to all of our potential users, still potential, they are visitors. But unfortunately, we say goodbye right away because we lose almost all of them. The main problem here, getting back to this Google search results page, We are not communicating the product value clear. We are not using any unique things here, and we are not making it consistent. So again, there are plenty of voice notes assistants now, and this example illustrates how generic this explanation is. This is just voice notes, AI, nothing specific here. A good practice that I'd like you to look at is ManyChat, which is explaining the product value with some relevant keywords and even social proof. So if we look closer into that, it shows us like you can save time, which is already some value for the user, with social media marketing automation, which is their product positioning. And then they also added here some social proof, trusted by a million businesses. Way better than very high level and generic description, right? So hopefully users are motivated to explore further and imagining we are moving forward to the website, not to ManyChat, but other products. So the website, this is where users should see our product value for the first time. But they don't, because especially for most of B2B companies, it's concept that you have nothing to show. It's B2B, what can we show, right? So the mistake that I see across the board that companies are not showing any product, they are not giving any ability to interact, to play with that, and they're just showing a lot of text information, good social proof, but still there is no product, there is no clarity what is this. And instead of that, we can go even extra mile, not just showing the product, but even giving some access to interact with that in a way. And this is an example of login-less experience, which was created by the company called Rose.com, which is more like B2C, but still the product for teams. It's like a spreadsheet on steroids. And what they have done, instead of landing users on the website, they landed users inside a real product, which was a sandbox experience. And they saw that people, after interacting with this first spreadsheet, they saw a dramatic increase in sign-up conversion rate, activation rate, and even more weekly engagement of a group of people who have interacted with this first sandbox experience. For B2B products, you can tell me like it's very complex to give our product right away. It doesn't make any sense, and I agree with you. But for us, what we can do, we can embed an interactive demo on the website. So for example, Novatic is the product that is used for building interactive demos, but they are also demonstrating that on their website. So you can build a clickable, quick demo of your tool, at the end of which you can ask users to sign up or book a real demo call with your salesperson. So hopefully your users are moving forward to the registration flow, so they decide to sign up. This is where it's our moment to learn the most about the user, to personalize the experience further. But instead of that, we are not asking good profiling questions. We are adding extra friction and doing many, many other mistakes. And one of the mistakes actually I made in the beginning of my career at Mira when I was still a product designer in the growth team. And at the first glance, it looks pretty nice, right? Nice registration flow, pretty simple, not so many questions, also showing nice interactive previews of the templates and of the product. So what is wrong here? But the problem was that at every single step, we had a drop-off. Yeah, people haven't submitted information, but also there was a little drop-off. For such a top of the funnel, it's a big problem. We should avoid drop-off at any step. We started investigating why it's happening, and we noticed on like screen recordings, Hotjar, stuff like that, that people started interacting with these GIFs, with these videos on the side, instead of giving us their information for profiling. And later I learned that this is called interaction cost, and I just increased that interaction cost at this moment when it wasn't necessary at all. Mira at that moment was already quite an established brand and familiar for people who are going or getting to this point. They don't need any reminders how Mira looks like. So instead of that, we actually redesigned the whole sign-up journey and made it look like that. Like before, Dropbox rolled out something very similar, but the point is that it really worked. We can focus user attention on answering key profiling questions with lower interaction cost. And what is beautiful here is like we are also making a little progressive disclosure by showing these questions one by one, not overwhelming users with all of them at the same time. Sometimes you can show your product preview like Loom is doing that, maybe since the moment when Loom was just establishing a new category for async collaboration. It can happen, it can help actually if you're establishing something in a new category. Yeah. And a lot of founders are asking me, okay, what kind of questions we should ask for profiling? There are a bunch of pretty straightforward questions that probably you're already asking, like company size, industry, role, current tools, maybe experience level is one of the questions I love, especially for productivity tools. But the most important one is this one, goal or use case. This is our bridge towards personalization. We should keep them rather limited, so 5 to 7 questions based on Miller's law is the optimum balance. So finally, after registration, our users are in their first session, and this is where we should finally personalize and give an easy start. Especially now with AI products, I think we should actually think about hyper personalization, and this is something I will be sharing a bit later in my content. So, but instead of that, we treat all users as the same, and we think they will all figure it out. So the problem is that many products land users on the dashboard or homepage where there is no clarity about the next action. Yeah, and they're just lost somewhere. We can call it a dead end. What Dropbox is doing or was doing a while ago, they make their core action as the first action when users start using the product, and their first action is upload. It's pretty smart because it's definitely connected to their activation metric, and it's also enabling an investment loop. So imagine as soon as you start uploading your data, documents, photos, whatever into the product, the stickier you become because it becomes harder for you to switch to another one and start uploading the same data there. Another thing you can do during the first session is personalize experience for sure. If users invested time and gave you their personal information about their role, their website, their positioning, whatsoever you asked them, you need to return, you need to give them a reward back. And that reward can be something personalized. Coda was showing recommended starter kits, and this one is for product managers because they identified me as a product manager during profiling. Last but not the least, if we move forward beyond just the first session, this is where we should speed up the time to value. And time to value is always connected to this aha moment that we really want all our users to achieve. But instead, again, our users are left alone to figure everything out by themselves. And now I want to show you something pretty cool, how we can do that now with AI. And like there are plenty of AI agents here and there, but there are not so many examples, at least I haven't seen so many examples of how it can be used in onboarding. And last year, I finally saw one of them. I supported a startup called Pine.ai, and they have integrated their tool with another product called They Do, which is a platform for building journey maps. And this is a very complex process to build a journey map for like pretty big enterprise company, which has like dozens of steps. And how it works. So this AI avatar is not a stranger. This is actually a CEO of this company. And they trained this AI avatar on his face and then built an interactive video, interactive guide. It's not a video, it's really like an interactive experience where you can walk through the product, you can interact with the real product, and at the same time, you will see a tailored guidance from their CEO. Imagining it would be a sales demo from a CEO, but very, very self-serve, in a self-serve way. After introducing that, they have seen a major impact on activation rate, time to value reduced by 8 times, boost in 30-day retention, and higher conversion rate. It's counterintuitive, but adding AI helped to make this whole first experience more human, right? Uh, if we cannot afford something like that, we can still automate some parts of the workflow with AI that are boring or unnecessary. And Loom has done that also last year. They automated chapters creation and summary creation. And for them, activation is not just creating the first Loom video, it's also sharing that video and then making sure that somebody on the other side will watch that video. And by automating this part, they noticed that people started sharing these videos earlier because they have seen summary, kind of looks ready to be shared, and they started sharing it, which is quite nice insight. And last but again, not the least, step in this holistic process is habit forming. This is where users should fall in love with our product and create a habit and never leave us. But instead of falling in love, they just churn and never come back. And unfortunately, but the main mistake that I've seen here at this step is just being too annoying, bombarding users with notifications from all possible channels, emails, push notifications, pop-ups that are opening up when you enter the product. However, it should happen very naturally. We should create an experience that nurtures that habit formation without any extra forcing. And one example that I really love is Grammarly, and it shows suggestions, still kind of trying to create a habit in a little bit like triggered way, but it shows them at the right time and place, and it really connects it to the value. For example, they have a very nice feature called premium suggestions, and you have, I think, free per day for free. And if you used all of them, you will see some notification that you can upgrade to use unlimited premium suggestions. So over time, after encountering this feature, using it, getting value from this, users naturally decide to upgrade and start using Grammarly way more often. This is what happened with me personally, and I started paying for the tool. So just to do a quick recap before we start the Q&A, we started way back at the moment of Google search. We need to avoid anything that doesn't help us communicate the value in a clear way. On the website, we should avoid these blank, generic states where there is no clarity what is this product. And if we can do an extra mile and give an access to your product, at least in the interactive demo, that's brilliant. On the registration flow, we shouldn't add extra interaction cost, and we need to ask key profiling questions, and we need to be mindful about what type of questions we are asking. During the first session, we should avoid no clear first action. However, we can personalize with anything we can. Towards the path to aha moment, we should avoid long time to core value, and we can automate parts of the workflow with AI. And finally, habit formation, we should avoid notifications and anything that is annoying. And we should show only value-driven suggestions if we want to show them. Here is a quick recap with some examples we have already explored today. And how to get started. So you can evaluate your holistic onboarding thinking of these 6 steps and identify which are 1 or 2 most problematic steps for you right now. And within these couple of steps, you can start thinking about quick wins, meaningful shifts, and big bets to create a diverse portfolio for your next growth roadmap. And if you need any help with that, I'm actually running a course where we do pretty much that work, where you bring your flow and then analyze it, share with me. I provide my feedback on top of that, and we also share a bunch of insights in a group. Now it's available on early bird price, so feel free to grab this link, and I would love to see some of you on my next cohort, which is going to be in January, and I'm preparing a lot of nice updates to the program. And one more bonus I wanted to give you is the board where I explored and analyzed 10 other onboarding flows from Figma, Dropbox, Canva, Notion, etc., with my notes, with my points of what is good, what can be better. So feel free to submit this quick form, and at the end you will get both things, the discount code and this board with tear downs. On that note, I think we have a bunch of time for your questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Kate. That was excellent. I went ahead and put in the chat as well, in case you don't have your phone readily available for the QR code. You can follow that to take a look at the holistic onboarding with Kate when you have an opportunity. Okay, so there's only a couple of questions here. We have one from Michael. We have quite a lot of pushback from stakeholders about making these onboarding flows too long. You said 5 to 7 questions. What is your perspective on that?
It really depends if you are working on B2B or B2C, mobile or desktop product. I would say for like traditionally for B2B web first product, we can cover the most of the things we need in 5 to 7 questions. If we are talking about B2C mobile first, something like that should be very tailored. For example, any healthcare products, any products are connected to your like eating habits. This is where I've seen the longer flow doesn't make it worse. It can make it even better for personalization, because we really need to gather way more information about your, I don't know, habits, eating, diseases, anything to give you something that will suit your day-to-day needs. While for B2B, I think ideally 5 to 7 questions are more than enough. The maximum is 9, I would say. However, we can also sometimes remove unnecessary questions when we already learned about like our ICP and we want to uncover something new about our ICP. We can replace old questions with some other new questions for some period of time.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. What do you think about sharing a template tailored to job role and goal as part of an onboarding to speed up the path to set up the aha moment?
Sharing a template, okay, connected to the job role.
Sharing a template tailored to job role and goal as part of the onboarding to speed up the path to the aha moment.
I think it's a good idea. However, I've been there at Mira. We have been relying on templates a lot and showing templates all the time after the first profiling flow. However, just looking at clients who I worked with and my personal experience from Mira, there is no a dramatic difference in percentage of activation of people who start with template or start from scratch, because sometimes the intent is different. Sometimes people really want to start from scratch, and we should give them that option as well. It should be visible. It should be accessible. If we don't give that option, they are getting all of these recommendations, templates, they need to delete them. That becomes problematic. And then the second problem with the template is the actual template. So ensure that the template itself is excellent in terms of core experience, UX. There are no bugs within this template, because I noticed many times when I start using Canva, it recommends templates, like any other product, it recommends templates. Sometimes the template is poor and you really need to customize it so much in order to make it work. So it becomes not a path to aha moment, it's like a path away from your aha moment. So think about, if we are using templates, ensure like to start with 5 templates for your 5 jobs to be done or use cases that are excellent. Don't give them hundreds of templates of poor quality. That can be a pretty large problem.
Okay, she says, thank you so much for that answer. All right, we have a lot of B2B users who need to use our tool from their managers and might not want it at first. How are you approaching building a habit for them?
That's also familiar. Yeah, I can imagine like this is a situation when there is a little bit of top-down adoption in the company, like somebody is purchasing a platform like, I don't know, Atlassian, and then everybody in the company has to use Atlassian without actually maybe wanting to use Atlassian. Let's take this example. Um, One thing, like there are different ways to tackle that, two ways. There is a high touch and self-service way. So for high touch, we are trying to work with this account as much as we can through personalized demo, through materials that are tailored to this customer, especially if it's a bigger enterprise client, through webinars and sessions for this team to adopt this product. And so the company, instead of like pushing top-down adoption, they start like nurturing a little bit bottom-up, adoption of the product. However, this might be not enough. And if we are talking about like thousands of people who are using this tool, then we need to do something self-service. And for the self-service support, we need to have something that can be called Learning Center. At Mira, that was Learning Center. This is a hub of all learning materials collected in one place, accessible from the product. It's not an external website. It's inside the product, like a hub where you can find any material you need. I heard from Clay, like Clay has a nice learning academy. So with videos, with a bunch of tutorials that anybody can find inside the product. And we need to start collecting this information and then at some point organize it in a very beautiful way inside the product, call it Learning Center, and make it as a center of your product hub. So, but apart from these two things, I think the root cause of these problems is usually a poor core experience with the product. So if somebody cannot build a habit with the product, meaning that something is entirely wrong with the core experience usually, or like they don't need this particular product, they need a different product. And the root cause is usually not like a lack of onboarding, lack of tutorials, lack of something. It's actually the core product itself. So we need to dive deeper into that.
Awesome. All right, one last question. How would you approach building user habits when your customers are used to an offline process and you're not only introducing a new product or process, but also trying to get them away from pen and paper?
That's very important thing, a difficult question, because we are talking here about behavioral change. So if there is an existing behavior, like imagining also for low tech savvy people, they are used to pen and paper or something like non-digital. For them, changing this behavior might be super difficult, super difficult. I remember that from Mira days when there was COVID and huge amount of new users started using Mira, people who have never ever used digital whiteboard. They haven't even heard about this category. They just used like sticky notes and their physical whiteboard. So I remember we, instead of fixing the actual onboarding, again, we just had to fix tiny little details of the core experience, how the sticky note work, how the canvas works. Is it super intuitive for people who have never used that? And testing and iterating on that. When it comes to like radical behavioral change, I would suggest to read something from Amy Butcher. She wrote a book called Engaged. It's about behavioral design and how to drive behavioral design change. And now I'm super passionate about this topic again, because with AI, we see this is happening again. We have never used AI for anything. Yeah, it's a new behavior we are all establishing. And I'm so curious to see how it's all changing, how it's changing our expectations about software. I think next year we will expect absolutely different things from the software. We will expect hyper personalization. We will expect everything will be done for us, or majority of things will be done for us. So
we're designing for the AI agent
yeah,
themselves. Yeah.
yes.
Okay, we're a little over time now. We did have one ask in here if you could share the Dropbox onboarding example. I don't know if you're able to do that, but if you want, whoever it was that sent that, you could send her a quick message if she doesn't.
I think it's here. It's on this board. If you want to get
Oh,
it, you can submit this
perfect.
form and you will get this board here. Yeah.
Okay, so make sure you guys submit the form so you can get some of those goodies. Thank you so much, Kate, for your time. It was really great to meet you. We'll speak to you guys soon.
Thank you. Cheers.